So if you're not putting 4 under contract in a quarter, and then you're not showing up to team meetings, and you're not like being a positive steward of culture, we're going to have a conversation of like, hey, you've got 30 or 60 or how many ever days to kind of get back on track, or like, I don't think this is the right fit.
This is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree. And before we bring on our guest today, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcast or on Spotify. If you're not already subscribed, while you're there, drop us a review. Let us know how we're doing. We'll read it here on the show. Our guest today is Katie Day. Katie is the team leader for the Move Me to Texas team. As an agent, Katie's focus is on getting top dollar for her sellers through a personalized and dynamic marketing strategy for each home. And as a team leader, she works to recruit new real estate agents and support her team to better serve their clients. Katie, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Katie, super excited to have you on the show. I was sharing with you before we came on. I feel like I see you everywhere, but I think it's because I'm in the ecosystem of Tom Ferry, right? So Jason Pantana, Tom Ferry, and all the different agents stuff going on, the conferences and stuff like that. But you are crushing it. And so we've been kind of following you for a while. And I wasn't, when we got referred to you to have you on the show, I think it was Sean Carpenter, right?
By Sean Carpenter.
Yeah, Sean is one of
another Sean reference.
Yeah. We love, Sean is amazing, but he said, we got to have you on the show. And I wasn't putting two and two together. But then when I was like, it's this Katie. Yeah, I know about her. I see her all the time. But if you could share your story with the audience of kind of how you got into real estate, lead us up to today. And I can't wait to pick your brain on marketing.
Yeah, for sure. And Sean Carpenter, that's actually really funny because he and I knew each other back when I was with Coldwell Banker, right? Like just of knowing each other's names and knowing the same people, similar to like what you just said about like the Tom Ferry world. And so I knew who he was, but I never met him. I was on his podcast over COVID. So we, had some FaceTime then where we kind of got to know each other a little bit better. And then he was in Houston probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I met him in person for the first time in, awesome. How many ever years, the 5 to how many ever years.
But I bet you felt like you knew him because of just the interaction through content. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we talk frequently, right? So it's just funny to meet him in person and see him live. So yeah, anyways, so I got into real estate after a career in property management. So I did that directly out of college. And it was a fine job, right? I just never really loved it. And it finally got to the point that I needed to do something different. So I got into real estate full time in 2017 and did that for a little while. My husband got into real estate as well later in 2017. And then in 2018, we decided to start a team and had, a lot of hires and fires and people quitting and good hires and bad hires. And then moving into like 2020, 2021 is really when we started to grow the team and have, good systems and processes. We had them before, but they probably weren't great. And so now we're sitting at a team of about 15 going into the new year. We just hired, a couple new agents. Wow. And we're just, looking to help as many people in Houston buy and sell real estate.
Love that. What type of volume or transactions are you guys doing?
Yeah. So we'll probably end the year just over 200 transactions this year. But we're in Texas, so you've got to sell hundreds of homes to. That's
like my brother in Virginia. Traction. Yeah, he's in that range of he has a little bit bigger team, but he hundreds and hundreds of transactions. I think his goal this year is like 400 and something. And he goes, but the average home is like 200,000 something. So I have to sell so many.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it's like, you talk to someone in Texas and they're talking to you in like volume, right? Or not volume. They're talking to you in transactions. Like, oh, this is the amount of units I did, right? You talk to someone in California. They're like, oh, this is my volume. Yeah. And you're like, well, you sold 4 homes. They're like, but it was, $50 million. So, great. It is what it is. We're real estate agents.
Well, I want to definitely get into the team building aspect. But first, before we jump into that, talk a little bit about your content. 'Cause I'm looking at your social media, almost 30,000 followers on Instagram, 500,000 views on YouTube. That's not the typical type of audience that most real estate agents have or teams have. So tell us a little bit about how you've kind of grown that audience and what the content is that you're putting out and the strategy behind that.
For sure. So I got into real estate in 2017. In the Tom Ferry world, he's always talked about, and really any real estate coach or any person you talk to is like, you've got to be on social, you've got to do this. And so that was always something that I knew I enjoy the marketing aspect of things. I enjoy content creation. I like that. I'm not a very creative person, but I like that creative aspect of things. And so it was always something that we did. And then in 2019, I made the decision that we needed to go all in on video. So we hired a videographer and had him on a retainer. And, I didn't know what the direction was, but I was like, I'm willing to pay you, how many ever thousands of dollars a month for me to make that commitment, right? Because I'm going to pay you either way, right? The money's going out, so I better shoot that content. And so we've had lots of different things that we do as far as like the neighborhood spotlights. Most of the YouTube stuff I shoot myself just with camera or phone, just because it's longer form content, and we have a VA that edits that. And before it was me editing it, right? But the YouTube's a little bit different. And now for Instagram, we really have a community focus. We have an educational focus. And, what are those questions that our buyers and sellers and, investors and consumers are asking us, and putting it out there kind of for the world to see.
Love that. I want to ask you maybe some rapid fire type questions on your thoughts here. How many posts do you think people should do a week, a day? Any recommendations there? What are you doing yourself?
So I think that that's a slippery slope. You'll listen to a social media coach and they're like, you have to have 5 stories and 1 feed post and blank DMs and blah, 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 blah. And I think, all of that's great, but like, I think that what you need to do is what's sustainable. Right. And so if that's 2 posts a week and 1 story a day, and that's what's sustainable for you, then that's what you should do. And then as you get comfortable with that, increase the cadence and quality of your posts.
Super well said.
Too many people try to do like 30 videos in 30 days, or I'm going to post a story every single day, or I'm going to blank. And they do that for a week or 2 weeks or maybe 30 days. And then that 30 days is up and they're like, thank God, now I don't have to post every day. And so pick the thing that's sustainable for you.
We made the same mistake.
We did the 30 days and 30 reels, or 30 reels in 30 days. Once it was over,
we were like, we can't sustain this.
We did it.
So then you're split in content. You say community, educational, right? I'm sure there's some personal in there. Like, are you doing way more educational than community? Can you give the audience, like if they were trying to apply what you do, a little bit more glimpse into that?
Yeah. So I'm not as organized as people probably think I am by way of content creation and content distribution. I kind of just post, what I want to post, right? So we do 1 community spotlight every week, and that's a long form video, anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes long, long form, 2 to 4 minutes long. And it goes on YouTube, it goes on Facebook, and it goes on Instagram. Okay. Right. And so that's once a week we do that. And we have them shot and edited from now through the end of the year. And now we're shooting for the end of December in through January. So like that, those are batched out. Those are done. And so that's one that's shot by our videographer. But before we had him, it was me, at my local coffee shop or at the local bar or at the restaurant being like, hey guys, I'm at so-and-so restaurant, blah, 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 whatever. Let's go check it out. And then I would do the pans and the shots and pictures of my food. And, that was what we were doing. So it doesn't have to be a high production quality. So 1 community video a week. And then as far as reels, I post a reel every single day.
Okay.
Normally each week I post about 5 buyer or seller or real estate tips.
Okay.
And it just kind of depends on the week. But that's normally how like my feed looks and the layout of it. So it normally ends up being 5 kind of, tip type videos, and then 2 or more, more personal videos. So that could be like sneakers, that could be, gym, that could be food, that could be something inspirational. And then the other kind of content bucket that I have is, just houses, right? So like property tours, new construction, that real estate kind of bucket.
Are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. I'm not on there consistently.
Okay.
So I have like 0 traction or followers. I just post there randomly.
Yeah, I totally get that. I was just curious. Okay, so then talk to us about people always want to do content, but they want to systematically do it to generate leads. How are you making this kind of journey to try to get it to leads, or do you not worry about that? Like, what is your thought process there?
Yeah, I think, clearly that's the goal for everyone. I think that you need to be very specific on who your audience is. Too many people, especially in real estate, start to get very like coachy and talking to other realtors. And that gets a lot of engagement because as realtors, we're on our socials very frequently, interacting with people and things like that. But like, who is your consumer? And you need to be talking to them. And the most successful people on all of the platforms are the ones that have that target audience and talk to them like they're literally taught. Like if Josh was my target audience and I'm like in my mind, hey Josh, this is what you're going to need to do if you're buying a home in Houston right now, and like talking to him, like I'm specifically talking to him rather than being like, well, if any buyer is looking to buy, like I need to be very specific in what my target audience is. And then those people will follow you. Other people will follow you as well. But like if Josh is my target audience, then I need to make content for him. When I think about leads and when I think about social, only about 10% of our business comes directly from social. Like you DM me and say, I want to buy a house, and I am DMing you on Instagram to make that happen. Right. But what I think of with social is we get a lot of agent referrals. That's about 20 to 25% of our business. About 30% of our business comes from our past clients in our sphere and referrals from them as well. So whether that's you transacting again or you saying, hey, I've got a buddy that's moving to Houston and I'd love for you to help him out. Here's his info. And all of that comes from social because I'm DMing my clients, right? I'm DMing my past clients. I'm interacting with them on social. So it's not just, hey, I'm sending you a DM to say I want to buy a house. It's also these other things that are a little bit harder to quantify or track. But I know that I'm engaging and having conversations with them. And then I'm getting texts from my past clients that are like, hey, I saw your video on blank. That was awesome. Or, hey, I saw your spotlight at this place. You should go to the place next door. That's, blah, blah, blah. That is a great restaurant. And I love it. Right. So they are consuming the content and giving feedback. It just may not be like on the platform.
We'll keep going with that with your leads because you mentioned 10% coming from social, kind of this organic community that you're building, 30% coming from your sphere. Where else are you seeing success with lead generation in your marketing?
Yeah, I mean the sphere and then agent referrals is big for us as well. And then at that point, that's about 70-80% of our business. The rest is all just kind of random, right? So we do expireds. We don't really do for sale banners, but we do expireds. We have a very robust MLS, so our consumer facing website from our MLS is great. So we get leads from that. And those are, high quality leads that are looking on a real estate website. So it's like, a Zillow lead or something like that, but not at a, referral fee clip. And so, all of those are good. And then, I mean, that's really it as far as like the bigger ones. And then we have like the one-offs of like a girl on our team has two people she's gotten from TikTok. Right. And just like things like that it's like not really a lead source that we are pouring into significantly, but like, if we close a deal or two, it's still tracked in the system.
Love that. So let's talk about your team, right? The struggle with teams I find in talking to team leaders and people trying to build teams is they build this platform out, they recruit agents in, the agent then becomes successful, and then the agent doesn't like their split or wants to move on and do it on their own. So you've invested all this time and energy, but you're losing people. Like, how do you build your team out, fight that battle, do recruiting, build the system? Give us a little insight there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, right? And so, you have the struggle for a team leader of, do I continue to increase splits to where I'm no longer profitable? Or do I train people, knowing that they may leave, and hopefully, we can continue to provide them enough value that they want to stay, right? So whether that's services that they get, whether that may be a graduated split that they get once they reach a certain amount of production, there are different ways to supplement or provide value to agents, outside of just monetary value, right? Maybe it's like, if you sell over $10 million a year, then this is not, I hope none of my team members listen, then like maybe we like buy you a vacation or we give you a week off or like, right. Like it could be other things. And we're always striving to, like, as we grow the team, to have as much value as we can. So, as we're scaling the team from, what we were like 5 agents to now next year, we'll probably be 30 agents. Like, wow. What are the additional value add things that we can have? And what does our admin team look like to ensure that we're still able to provide them with social cards and like, keeping current matters data and different things like that, so that they have some canned content to put on their social in addition to their videos, in addition to their other stuff. Top producers get an hour with our videographer every month to shoot content. So that could be like, I want to do a YouTube video. I want to do, short form vertical content. I want to do whatever. Some of them have done like branded photo shoots with him instead, and so that's like kind of their choice. And none of that stuff is really that costly or expensive either for us or for them. But it's like, having that additional added value and those things I think is beneficial. But I mean, depending on your team setup, if it's a more traditional team setup, like it's normally an 18 to 36 month, time frame that you've got a buyer's agent on your team. And unless you're giving them more responsibility or more money or more whatever, like chances are they probably are going to go out on their own.
Yep.
And that's just the fact of the matter, right? So, it's either continuing to challenge them and add value, or just know that you always kind of need to recruit. And that's something that once we realized that, we kind of went from that, we're always 5 agents because one leaves and we add one more, one leaves and we add one more, to, now we're adding on agents constantly, right? And if people leave, we have other people to kind of backfill that position in that production.
Well, what are some of the greatest challenges you're seeing right now, and how are you sort of adapting to this shifting market, or I guess the market is already shifted, but
we keep saying that, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, well, in this shifted market, it's shifted.
Yeah, it's interesting is what we like to say. It's an interesting market. That's Luke's line.
Luke, I love that. Like I always hate like these people are like, this is a crazy market. I'm like, why would anyone want to buy in a crazy market?
Correct.
Like that's a terrible line, y'all. No, I mean, it's definitely been like a very interesting 3 years, right? I think that what I've been telling my team and what I've been telling people is that it's going to be harder in 2023 to find buyers, right? As a buyer's agent or even as an agent in the market, it's going to be harder to find buyers in 2023 than it has been, in the past 2 years, but it's going to be easier to find them a home. And so, you have to work on what you're saying, what you're doing, and the conversations you're having, and choosing your words with your clients and prospects very carefully. But once you get those people and you convert them to work with you, at that point, finding them a home is going to be a lot easier, right? And so if they can afford to purchase and it makes sense for them to purchase, then we should help them to do so. Because I mean, rising interest rates have been a challenge over the past, now 4 to 6 months or whatever. But I mean, we're also seeing some of our clients get significantly under list price offers accepted, or getting credits from the seller so that they can buy down their interest rate, or even just have lower closing costs because they're okay with the interest rate. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in the market, and that's where, the content that we put out and stuff like that is like, you need to share your client wins and share those stories, because, there's someone sitting at home that's like, oh, well, I can't buy because I can't afford blank or whatever. And if they hear that story, then that may kind of compel them to, reach out or at least consider purchasing.
That's awesome. So good.
Love that approach.
I want to ask just before I lose it, because I know this is a big, big struggle, is the 15 agents or so you have, you're going to 30. Do you have standards of accountability that they have to do? Like they have to show up to the office 1 day a week for a team meeting. They have to make so many calls. They have to treat the leads that you're paying for right. Or is it different? Like, I'm curious your take there.
Yeah, we're a pretty high accountability team, right? So a lot of the things that you just said are things that we monitor and kind of look after. So we have a weekly team meeting that we meet in person once a week. And, we'll go over all of the pending deals. We'll go over any other training stuff, right? If you've sold less than 10 homes with the team, we have a weekly 30-minute just kind of training session. And it's a little mastermind where we'll kind of go over different things that may be like, a contract document, that may be something kind of tedious like that. Or it could be like, hey, here's something that, is a tech tool that you guys should be using to, convert more buyers. Or, here's the buyer guide and going over that with someone. Here's how to close that consultation. Here's how to whatever. Every morning we have a daily huddle, and it's basically like a 5-minute call, and a team member from the team leads it every day. And it's basically just like a quick motivational, inspirational kind of moment. And then every morning after that, everyone has to kind of like report what their day was, a win from the day before and stuff like that. And so it's definitely between that and then like team challenges. We run team challenges a lot of like, calls, conversations, appointments, contracts, kind of those money-making activities, right? It gets like, if someone's slacking, what I love about my team is like before when it was smaller and we had 5 people, it'd be like me just like breathing down everyone's neck of like, why aren't you doing this? Micromanagement, whatever. Now with the amount of people we have on the team and these team challenges, if the 3 of us are on a team and I'm not pulling my weight, Josh is like, hey, like, why haven't you made any calls? And Luke's like, dude, why haven't you put anything under contract? And I feel the pressure from y'all, not from me. Right.
That's great.
And so, now like sitting in the room and seeing them kind of talk about that and being like, well, wait, you're not doing an open house this weekend and you have 0, contracts in escrow. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And like, they're kind of putting that on each other. And then you see people like, all right, well, let me sign up for an open house then, And so, the accountability kind of comes from within, right? We want to be known as a high production team. We want to, if you see an offer come through from our team, the listing agent be like, okay, yeah, like I know this is going to be a strong, well-written, clean offer. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. The accountability comes from the team. Outside of that, I mean, we want all of our team members to sell at least 15 homes a year.
Okay.
Right. And we monitor that quarterly of them putting at least 4 under contract every quarter. Right. And then doing all the right things. Like, so if you're not putting 4 under contract in a quarter and then you're not showing up to team meetings and you're not like being a positive steward of culture, we're going to have a conversation of like, hey, you've got 30 or 60 or how many ever days to kind of get back on track, or like, I don't think this is the right fit.
What a great way to say it. A positive steward of culture. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
You can always tell someone that holds themselves highly accountable because, number one, able to go through that. But as soon as you brought up accountability, Katie, your face like lit up. You're like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this.
My team is like, oh, God.
Yeah. Non-real estate related question. We're wrapping up the year. I'm always looking for good books to add to my reading challenge list for next year. What book have you read that's had the biggest impact on your life and why?
So one book that I always go back to that I really like is White Collar Warrior by Bill Hart.
I've never read that.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's a good one. I think for sales professionals or anyone that has to be like persistent in what they're doing, because he basically talks about, the military and armed forces and things that people go through and like going to war and like the mindset that you have to do something like that. And it's like, and you're complaining that you have to go make some phone calls, or you're complaining that they didn't pick up the phone, so it's not trying to draw parallels between the two, but there's, here are the parallels between like, risking your life and like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you make a call and someone hangs up on you? Like these people are risking their lives and you're just complaining that you have to make a phone call. So I like that from a mindset perspective. And then lately I have been all in on Phil Jones, Exactly What to Say.
Yes.
And just like all of the magic words and the different phrasing and language. We've changed a lot of our questions for team members and questions for, prospective buyers and sellers with those. And the conversations we're having are so much better, than they were before. So it's really just that's been awesome. A powerful book for me.
That's awesome. Katie, thanks so much for being here. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, tell them about your conference going on too and stuff like that, or the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. So the best place to connect with me is on Instagram. My handle is Move Me to Texas, and that's Texas is just abbreviated. So it's MOVEMETOTX. And that's the best place to see like any masterminds I'm doing, events, podcasts. I always post, when I've been on a podcast or I'm shooting one or whatever. And then we are doing an event. So if you are looking to get more into video in 2023 or up your game, we're doing the Real Estate Video Blueprint. It's going to be our 2nd annual event. So we can now say it's an annual event. 2nd annual event. Just super tactical. We're curating an awesome list of speakers of people that are practitioners, just crushing it with video content and marketing here in the real estate space.
And they'll be able to find links to that on or info to that on your Instagram if they go. Okay, awesome. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about the video content, and Katie just gave you a ton of good ideas, like also go follow her. The best way to get inspiration and ideas for what to post is watch what other people who are doing it well are posting.
Do some R&D.
Absolutely. Thank you again for being here, and thank you all for listening. You can dive deeper to this episode. We'll also link to everything that Katie mentioned there over at staypaidpodcast.com, as well as the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, you can head on over to Apple Podcast, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to show your support is just to share this episode with a friend. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook, we are at Stay Paid Podcast, and TikTok, we are at Stay Paid _podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Katie, thank you so much. It was amazing. So many golden nuggets in there. Here's my action item for everybody listening to this, right? Because you want to put something into action. I loved the tactic of sharing your wins that you have with your clients, utilizing that opportunity to tell a story, because there's somebody sitting at home that might think they can't afford to buy in this market. But if you share that win of how you help people buy in this market and that you got it for way under listing price and the sellers threw stuff in, like that can be the thing that causes that movement in your business. So this week, make sure you're sharing your client wins, your client testimonials, and share them in a story. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.